And yet another very wonderful morning out there to all of you, my dearest friends. We left off completing our study on the book of Amos. Now let's pick up in another one of these minor prophets known as Micah, another of the pre-exilic before they went into the Babylonian captivity. Let's just get started right here. The word of the Lord that came to Micah the Morashthite in the days of Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, all kings of Judah, which he saw concerning Samaria and Jerusalem. Micah was a contemporary with Isaiah. The two prophets stand to a large extent on the same level of prophetic knowledge. Characteristic of both of them is the increasing clearness of the figure of the personal Messiah and the increasing fullness of detail with which his functions are described. Notice how he is called Micah the Morashthite. The city of Moresheth, also called Moresheth Gath, in Micah 1:14, was about 25 miles southwest of Jerusalem on the borderlands between Judah and the Philistines. This means that the prophet Micah was like the prophet Amos, in whom we just completed going over, a man from the country sent to the cities to bring the word of the Lord. In Judah during this time, King Ahaz was a particularly evil ruler. He was known for burning babies, and he just very, very evil, very evil. In Israel, though, to the north, there were a succession of evil kings, so it's very, very evil times right here. Micah is thought to have prophesied about 16 years in Jotham's time, as many under Ahaz and 14 under Hezekiah. In all, 46 years. That's a long time to be prophesying. And he survived the captivity of Israel 10 years, which he lamented as well as foretold. Once again, Micah stands out as not being sent unto just Judah or just the northern tribes of Israel, but to both. The visions that he saw concerning Samaria and Jerusalem. Samaria being the capital of the northern tribes, and Jerusalem being the capital of the southern tribes. Verse 2, Hear all ye people, hearken, O earth, and all that therein is, and let the Lord God be witness against you, the Lord from his holy temple. For behold, the Lord cometh forth out of his place, and will come down and tread upon the high places of the earth. And the mountains shall be molten under him, and the valleys shall be cleft as wax before the fire, and as the waters that are poured down a steep place. For the transgression of Jacob is all this, and for the sins of the house of Israel. What is the transgression of Jacob? Is it not Samaria? And what are the high places of Judah? Are they not Jerusalem? Being the capitals of each part of the land, these were the most highly exalted places in all of Israel. Persons and places, Matthew Henry commented, persons and places most exalted are most exposed to spiritual diseases. The vices of leaders and rulers shall be surely and sorely punished. Therefore, I will make Samaria as a heap of the field, and as plantings of a vineyard, and I will pour down the stones thereof into the valley, and I will discover the foundations thereof. And all the graven images thereof shall be beaten to pieces, and all the hires thereof shall be burned with fire, and all the idols thereof will I lay desolate, for she gathered it of the hire of a harlot, and they shall return to the hire of a harlot. Essentially meaning that the treasures they obtained by idolatry, by worshiping the same gods as these Assyrians in order to strengthen their alliance with them, they shall go to another idolatrous people, namely the Assyrians. The dedicated offerings and the temples at Samaria shall be carried off to Nineveh, the capital of Assyria, to adorn the temples there, and they most certainly did. Now in verse 8, we see the prophet, after seeing this vision, we see the prophet begin to speak up. Therefore I will wail and howl, I will go stripped and naked, signs of mourning. I will make a wailing like the dragons and mourning as the owls. The prophets did not cease to be men when they received the gift of inspiration. Sometimes they seem to have had a kind of double consciousness, uniting them on the one hand with the inspiring Spirit of the Lord, and on the other with their much loved people. Hence their abrupt transitions from stern denunciation to tender compassion. Verse 9, for her wound is incurable. They had reached the point of no return with their idolatry and their sins, wickedness, bribery, all of that will come to. For her wound is incurable, for it is come unto Judah. Now we come down to the south. He is come unto the gate of my people, even to Jerusalem. Declare ye it not at Gath, to the Philistines. Don't tell the Philistines about this. Weep ye not at all. In the house of Ephraim, roll thyself in the dust. Pass ye away, thou inhabitant of Saphir, having thy shame naked. Saphir, it's believed, being just right along the war path of the Assyrians whenever they're coming down, which is the focus of, for the most part, the focus of the book of Micah. But he also alludes to the Babylonian captivity as well. But Saphir believed to be right in here. Most of it's believed to be just right in the war path. The inhabitant of Zaanan came not forth in the morning of Bethazel. He shall receive of you his standing. And once again, even the commentators noted this. The sites of these cities being named, like that of Ephraim, are a matter of conjecture, not 100% on where they were located. They were probably southwest of Jerusalem, as we pointed out, the prophet following the march of the invading army. For the inhabitant of Meroth waited carefully for good, but evil came down from the Lord unto the gate of Jerusalem. O thou inhabitant of Lachish, another mighty city, bind the chariot to the swift beast. She is the beginning of the sin of the daughter of Zion, for the transgressions of Israel were found in thee. Here's an artist rendering of Lachish. You'll see how it's so high up on this mount, and the walls were very, very high. Ellicott commented, in essence, what's being said is, make haste, loading your chariots with the beast and all. Make haste to escape with thy goods. Lachish was the most important of the cities enumerated, being spoken of right here, the most important. It was fortified by Rehoboam, the son of King Solomon. It was fortified by him and was sought as a refuge by Amaziah from the conspiracy formed against him in Jerusalem. It appears, from its position, to have been a border city, to have been the channel for introducing into the kingdom of Judah the idolatry set up by Jeroboam in Israel. Therefore shalt thou give presents to Moresheth-Gath, the land where Micah came from. The houses of Achzib shall be allied to the kings of Israel. Yet will I bring an heir unto thee, O inhabitant of Mareshah. He shall come unto Adullam, the glory of Israel. Because Judah has adopted the evil practices of the northern tribes, the prophet here addresses Judah and continues to do so to the end of the chapter. Shalt thou give presents to Moresheth-Gath? The presents intended are parting gifts, farewell presents. The word is used in 1 Kings 9:16 for the dowry given to a daughter when she is married. He shall come unto Adullam, the glory of Israel. Adullam was located right around the same spot in between Lachish and Jerusalem, located right in between the same spot where the mountains where David hid from King Saul, located right around that area. And all that's being said is even Adullam is going to be taken. Make thee bald and poll thee for thy delicate children. Enlarge thy baldness as the eagle, for they are gone into captivity from thee. In which, in speaking to the land of Judah, we know that this is pointing much more to that of Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonian captivity. So the prophet is just like Isaiah, he's alluding to not only the Assyrian invasion, which would take the northern tribes, but he's also speaking and prophesying unto the southern tribes, which would be taken by Nebuchadnezzar, just like Isaiah was preaching as well at the same time as Micah.